Alright, I think the stream's probably started by now. Alright, so it's been a while since I last streamed, but this time is mostly just to catch up on some Renshuu that I've been learning. I don't really know how much the level actually indicates how much you've learned. I've just been learning at my own pace. Yeah, so I've done a couple of the Japanese basics for the vocab and the grammar. And I've been back in my hometown for the past month, so I wasn't able to keep the schedule as deeply as possible for making sure that I get all my review done. It's mostly because when jumping into like a textbook like Genki, I found it a bit difficult of sorts to be able to just jump straight into the actual like Genki learning without learning more of the vocab behind it first. So yeah, I've been just kind of shoring up my vocab knowledge through Renshuu, which I just find as like a nice daily resource because they've kind of like gamified the learning process. So you have your daily challenges to add in some nice amounts of XP for your level. You get this little icon that changes whenever you level up to a certain level. And it's very like personal paced, so I'm able to take it at my own pace, make sure that I don't kind of overload myself too much. So the setting that I have right now, so if you like look at the learning pace, you can set certain amounts of new vocab that you can learn, and however many pieces of vocab are in each of your quizzes per day. So at least when I was not back in my apartment for school right now, I just set it so I didn't add on new terms unless I finished the review. And I don't think I finished the review for the past month at all. So it's been a while since I actually got some new terms. And then basic verbs, I think, is the next step that I really need to get into. Because the initial Japanese basics that they give you are pretty much just how to make a very, very basic sentence. This is something, or this is not something. Or like, what is this? That kind of thing. What I found was that a lot of these grammar-based exercises can require quite a bit of the vocab knowledge. So I haven't been progressing through this too much, or nearly as quickly as the vocab. So I don't know how many words in total each of these groupings have. You have to personally add on the new groupings if you want to learn a different set of words. So Japanese basic words is the part that you start on. I think I've had this on Zero to Learn for the past month, and I'm pretty sure that as you add on the grammar, then more of these are actually unlocked. So like I remember finishing one of these grammar things and the Japanese basic words, the dictionary expanded. So I had about like at least, well, I know it's at least 20 new terms to learn, but it might have been even like 100. And then starter words was one that I actually accidentally added, but I have maybe like 200 words on here that I've learned so far, and I think the total is probably around 400, 500 here as well. Yeah, so other than that, I haven't been doing too much in terms of like improving in Japanese. So I think I'll talk about it a bit more after I finish the Japanese basic words review. And yeah, so semi, narrow, confined. So I actually asked, so my native The first language I learned was Mandarin Chinese when I was a baby. I think like sometimes preschools can be pretty competitive in terms of actually getting your kid into a preschool. So nowadays there are some parents who actually um, exclusively teach their kids a foreign language in the US because those children who don't have much of a grasp on English actually have a higher chance of getting into a preschool. At least, well, in my very very limited experience. So, despite learning Chinese before learning English, my English, of course, being an American, is miles ahead of my Chinese. So I took Chinese since I was in kindergarten-ish until I was in 8th grade. And after that, you technically graduate from Chinese school, or at least that system of Chinese school. After that, I took like little classes well, I took one class. Let's see. So after that, I was a TA for one of the younger classes. I think it was kindergarten. And after that, in 11th grade, I think it was 11th grade. It was like one of the first years that Chinese had an AP exam, advanced placement, if you're not from the US. It's kind of like a college level course that if you score well enough, at certain colleges, they'll give you credits for the class. That's associated with that level of mastery of whatever subject that you take. So for Chinese, I got a 4, but 80% of people who took the exam, because it was pretty new, it was relatively easy at the time, but I still got a 4. And that's kind of sad. Disheartening, because Chinese was the first language I knew. But yeah, so I decided in college that I was going to take another Chinese course. So I was like, okay, I am going to start from the bottom up. I am going to start from the basics, get all my foundations done before I move up. And guess what? After like the first week or so, the teacher's like, okay, guys, all right, we're going to have you do a little quiz to see what level you're at. And based on whatever level that we get out of your quiz, you'll possibly move up to another level of the class. And what the I got moved up to the junior level class when I was like, okay, brass tacks. Okay, no. All right, they're telling me to move to the junior class. And by God, I'm glad that they made me go there, because I still learned frick ton in that junior level class. I have stories about that class, but long story short, I learned traditional Chinese characters in my Chinese school because it was run by Taiwanese teachers. But after I moved to the Chinese class in college, they did still have the ability for me to learn traditional, but because of the way that the class was run, it was just easier to learn simplified. I mean, like the characters were taught in simplified. The teachers were all from mainland China, so it didn't really make sense for me to continue learning in just traditional Chinese characters. Unfortunately for me, I thought that simplified was the one that everyone used. I was so removed from the actual culture of Chinese, that like the Chinese language, that I only found out that like the Chinese that I had learned growing up was traditional Chinese characters in like 10th or 11th grade. So like right before I took this AP Chinese exam, I found out that, oh, the Taiwanese parents who immigrated from Taiwan to America, they all decided that we were going to learn in traditional, which is what Taiwanese people use. I think Hong Kong also has some traditional writing. But yeah, simplified was the easier way to learn in college. So I learned traditional characters. I would say that some of the meaning in the traditional characters ends up being lost in simplified. Because the simplified characters, some of the words are made so that it's just the radical, which is kind of like the base, like root of a word's meaning. So like, for example, this semi, this right side, this is what we call radical. This is a kind of like simplified form, or like a shorthand form. Shorthand form is the more accurate way of putting it. It's a shorthand form of the word for dog. If you know Chinese or Japanese, the word for dog is a da, or o, or dai, which means big. And then you also have a little dot on the side. So it's pretty much like here. So if you see my pointer here, it would be this long line, one curve, another curve, and then a dot that faces outwards. So like this dot would face outwards. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 strokes. And that's abbreviated to this little thing. I don't know why the radical for this word is dog, but yes. So like traditional and simplified both have the radicals to give you like the general branch of meaning for the word. And then the other side, it depends on the word, but sometimes it's able to give you a better idea of how to pronounce the actual word itself. So I don't know what this character is, but let's say it was a character that you already know, and you know how it sounds, then you can at least pretty often assume that the word itself has some connection to that pronunciation, at least in Chinese. I don't know about Japanese. So like if I knew what this character by itself sounded like, then I think I would know generally what this whole word with the dog radical would end up sounding like. Another unfortunate thing for Chinese background learners of Japanese is that Japanese kanji also include characters that are kind of ancient in terms of Chinese, linguistics, right? So this sentence here is kare wa katahaba ga samai. This word I haven't learned yet. So like this word for kare, I think is probably one of these ones that are like out of use in actual modern Chinese. You'll see it with some of the other pronouns in Japanese as well. So like watashi, ore, what else is there? Or like words like anata. Those kanji are derived from the Chinese characters, but a lot of them are out of use. So like ore, I had never seen that character before in my entire time learning Chinese, because not many people use it. So at least to a certain degree, having a Chinese background does allow you to more easily pick up the kanji, as well as allowing you to read things without actually knowing how to say it in Japanese. But semai is an example of a kanji where I didn't actually know how to write in Chinese before. I know that in Chinese, narrow is zai. and I'm pretty sure that this is the actual character for zai in Chinese. And you can also tell possibly that with kanji there's multiple readings. Well, not that you can tell. There are multiple readings for kanji. There's the one that's more rooted in the original Chinese pronunciation, and then there's ones that are purely Japanese. So maybe with some of the other vocab that I'm going to be going through in the stream, I'll point out some of the ones where I know the reading in Chinese, and I use the reading in Chinese in order to remember the one in Japanese. So yeah. So this is semai, means narrow or confined. I guess one way that you can think of it is just remember that there's the dog radical, and then you can have this kind of shape be kind of like a narrow passageway. These are, yeah, so remembering these kinds of things through images, or like the way that these things look, is called mnemonic devices. That is MNEMO NIC devices. And mnemonic devices are what I learned hiragana and katakana with, using Tofugu's quiz. So yeah, so if you go to Tofugu, TOFUGU, they have hiragana and katakana lessons, where based on the shape of the hiragana and katakana, they will give you like images to help you remember what character that kana is. And then of course, because I've had learned Chinese and I knew a couple of the Japanese kana beforehand, it totaled about 3 or 4 hours for me to be able to at least read hiragana and katakana. Not to a mastered degree, but like not to a degree of mastery, but at the very least I was able to read the two. Alright, so taisetsu is tai, is that character that I mentioned earlier. I think I said dai at the time because that's one of the readings of this character. After I answer this correctly, then you'll see. So this character here, so if you added a little dot to the side, that would be the dog character, inu. But just by itself, it means big. And this is another character where my dad pointed out to me what it actually is in Chinese. It is, I think it's qie. So you have a 7 here. I don't know what the radical is in this word. There's a 7 here, and then this word here means blade or knife. Dao in Chinese, it's dao. But this by itself seems to be the word for value. So then it would be big value. So tai or da in Chinese, and then setsu or qie in Chinese. Right. Okay, so 家庭での教育は大切です。So home, yep. De is one of these things for the grammar that I have to learn. No. In Chinese, there is a character like no. Well, there's 3 characters like no. And they're all pronounced de. Does indicate some kind of possessiveness for one of the de's, in Chinese. But the other two are for adjectives or adverbs. Can get kind of confusing sometimes, but once you learn it, yeah, it's pretty easy to differentiate between the three. But no is a much more ubiquitous possessive. There's a chance that, yeah, and no is also a hiragana. So if any of these like kanji readings or like certain vocab, like tabemono, which is food, the no will also appear. So you might need to differentiate between the possessive one and the one that's just part of a Japanese vocab word. But generally, if you like are able to group these things up, so thankfully Renshuu does it for you. They group up the kanji that have a collective meaning. So like this kate has one meaning by itself. The de has a meaning. No has a meaning. And then kyoiku, and then wa, and then taisetsu desu. They each have a meaning. So if you're using Renshuu to learn, I would very highly recommend that you hover over these sentences that they give you so that you can at least start to see or start to gain an idea of how to break up the sentences. Okay. Aircon. This is another interesting thing with Japanese. So Japanese people tend to abbreviate a lot of things. So like air conditioner, they might know air conditioner from English, but generally for most of the public, they will know it as an aircon because that is, I guess, enough syllables for them to get the meaning out of the word, while still knowing what it refers to. So a lot of these katakana readings for foreign derived words will end up being abbreviated. Or like 7-Eleven, even in Taiwan too. Instead of saying 7-Eleven fully, they'll just say 7. Yeah, just 7. Yeah, so I remember hearing my aunt say that. One of my aunts say just 7. I was wondering what she meant. Kekiya. So, kekiya. Cake. And then shop. Yeah. I think things like izakaya, so like those like Japanese bars, the last character would also be this ya. So this means shop. Okay. So yeah, 美味しいケーキショップ、ケーキ屋はどこですか? 美味しい is a word that you've probably heard if you are familiar with Japanese. And just like in English, most adjectives will be right before the noun. There's possibility that it'll be slightly more separated if there's like a janai. Janai is Janai. Janai is a negative. So if I said oishii janai keiki ya, the janai would mean not delicious. So not delicious pastry shop. Okay. And then wa. This character, when you learn the hiragana is going to be ha, ha. But when used as this topic marker particle that they have here, it becomes wa, wa. This is kind of like the it's kind of like the is for like for a subject of a sentence. So delicious cake shop is, or denoting that the cake shop is the topic of the sentence or the subject of the sentence. Doko. Doko, as you can see here, is where. Desu is a, I don't know what a copula is, but this is another term that if you've listened to enough Japanese through like anime or something, you've probably heard of des. It's kind of like an ending to a sentence. But then you have this ka. So des would just be ending a sentence. So oishii keiki ya wa, or keiki ya wa oishii desu. The cake shop, subject, delicious, desu, to end the sentence. But ka, desu ka, ends up making it a question. Because the ka is what ends up actually giving it that like question quality to the sentence, you'll see that the punctuation is still going to be a period. Because Japanese traditionally doesn't have a question mark as far as I know. So if you see that desu ka, that would be the question. So delicious cake shop, and then showing that this is the subject of the sentence. Where is it? Unfortunately, I can't say how to make Japanese grammar easier to learn, because I personally don't really know too much either. Okay, hiroi. Hiroi. I don't know this one off the top of my head, so let's look at the definitions. Okay, so now seeing this, I'm pretty sure it's spacious because I haven't learned fast yet. Cheap might come up in the later part of the quiz. It is yasui, Y-A-S-U-I, yasui. And then red or crimson would be akai. Okay, so this is a little thingy, and then there's this mu, hiragana inside, or su in Chinese. I don't know how to remember this better. Hiroi na I tell you what. So the god is kind of hyperbole here. Okay, so country is going to be either kuni or koku. So let's see. Are, imi, kita, kuni. So it's this one. What does are mean? Are. Usually you would hear someone say like are wa. That is. Imi means meaning, like the meaning to a word or phrase. Kita might be the kita as in it's here. Like kita, it's here. Okay, so kani. Yeah, so this is the simplified character. I think kanji also has like a mix between simplified and traditional characters. I think this is the same between traditional and simplified, and this would also be the same. Okay, oh yeah, so here we go. So this is where no is not going to be the possessive no, but it's actually going to be part of a word. So tabe is the word to eat, and then mono is thing or class of things. So tabe, to eat, things. In Chinese, this word is shi, shi, with a second accent, which is kind of like a rising sound. Shi. And then this character here, mono, class of things, is u, wu, with a fourth accent downwards. U, u. So the Chinese characters for this phrase for food would just be this first one and the third one. 食物. And that would be food. For Japanese, they added in this be, and they also have different readings for this. Tabemono. Tabemono. Oh yeah, thankfully Renshuu also gives you like the accents so that you can sound more native. They also give a difference between Tokyo and Osaka accents if they differ. So like the words for bridge and chopsticks are both hashi, but depending on the accent for the ha and the shi, it could be one or the other. But then for between Tokyo and Osaka, the accents for the two are switched. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so biru is another fun one. If you do not hold the sound on the first syllable, biru, that means building or build. But if you hold the first accent, or the first syllable, biru, biru, that is beer. That may appear later. Okay, kore, this. So, ko, followed by something else, is one of the vocab that I learned. So you have kore, which means this here, and then you have something else after that. There's also a kono, this. Between kono and kore, there's a slight difference between the two meanings. I can't exactly point it out right now. If it's kono, that no is similar to that possessive no that we had before, while this kore is just this. It's just referring to something. So like if you're pointing at something, right? So I guess it's like kore is if the thing that you're pointing at is actually like defined, or at least in connotation it's defined. So like if you like point at a table and you say kore, then people already know that you're talking about the table. But then kono would be this, and then you would specify what you have as whatever you're referring to. And then there's also koko, which is this place, this like pointing down to the ground, this place right here. Okay, so this, I feel like if I get any of these wrong, then it's going to be kind of sad. This one I just know from like being the weeb. Muzikashi is difficult. Okay, and then this in Chinese is nan. So you can tell nan versus muzika. Nan has absolutely no connection to muzika. So there's no help in knowing that this in Chinese is nan. Yeah, so you'll see like the accent differences here. So muzikashi Alright. この問題は難しい. 問題 is one way of one way of saying problem or question. There's also, what's the other one? There's 問題 and, oh shoot, okay. 問題 and 質問, I think. 質問. Both mean questions or problems, but one of them requires like solving and the other is like a figurative question. Yeah, so yeah, you can see here この, this, and then you point to a specific item. この問題, this, and then you're specifying that it's the question. 問題は難しい. This question, showing that the question is the subject of the sentence, is difficult. 難しい. Man and male and girl, woman and female. There's also a whole host of ways that you can say these. I think there's like cultural differences between whether or not people were able to actually like say it a certain way. Like women might not have been able to refer to a man as danse at a certain time. I'm not sure about current culture, but man should be like either otoko here or danse. So let's see. Genkan. Genkan, I don't know what the meaning is yet. Danse, yeah, so this is man or male. Densha is 電車. Densha is phone. And then 毎晩, I think it's every evening or every night. But I haven't learned this yet. So let's choose danse. Okay, danse. In Chinese, this is 男性. Nan is the actual word for like male. And then 性, I don't know the meaning for it, but I think it's like body of people. So like the male body of people. So like males. So nan is Chinese character. So dan, nan, dan, and then xing, say. Xing, say. Those are at least like close enough. Not very close, but close enough that I can actually like more easily remember that this is danse. And then if this was the character for female, so it'd just be 女 in Chinese. 女性 would be 女性 in Japanese. So the second character sei for 女性 would still be pronounced sei, but then the first character, if this is replaced with female, it would be 女. I guess slightly interesting tidbit. If you read manga, Japanese comics, you'll notice that some of them are going to be labeled with certain demographics. So there's shonen, seinen, shoujo, josei. So shonen is the like anime that you probably heard of the most. Things like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. Most often published in Shonen Jump, the magazine. Shonen is for younger boys. Shoujo is for younger girls. Then we have seinen for older men or like more mature men. And then josei for more mature females. Or more mature women. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that they use seinen for older males, while they use josei they still use like josei for women. Okay, so その店員は男性でした。Okay, その refers to someone like that, but it refers to a person that is, or it refers to a thing that is close to the listener of speech. So we had kono earlier, which refers to something that's closer to the speaker. And then we have sono for sono for something close to the listener. And then ano with an A, ano, is referring to that which is close to neither the speaker or the listener. Okay, and then 店員店店员 shop worker. So 店 10 yuan in 店員 you'll probably see the in appear again pretty soon for like employee. Yeah. Attractive, good looking, stylish, cool. So kakoi or steki? Steki is more like beautiful. So I think I'm looking for kakoi. So we have imoto, which means little sister. Kakoi. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Ichinichi. Ichinichi is ichi, that you might recognize as one in Japanese. Nichi. The way that I remember what nichi means is through Nichijo, the anime, which is the daily life, or daily life. Nichi means day. And then asobu is one I haven't learned. Okay, so kakoi. Don't know what this is in Chinese, but this means good in Chinese. It's hao. No bearing on the reading here. Yeah. E is good. Okay. Wine is wine. Yeah, it's nice to know differences between hiragana and katakana, because it's either hiragana, where if you're someone who doesn't speak Japanese natively, you're probably thinking of like hiragana is going to refer to something where it's more possible that it doesn't sound like what I'm more familiar with. And then if it's katakana, like just now with wine, then I know it's probably an English word or German or something. A foreign word that was Japanified. Yeah. You can apparently get away with kind of like being racist and putting a Japanese, like a heavy stereotypical Japanese English accent on words, and it's actually relatively likely that they'll understand you. Like apparently like hotel, people will very often know what you mean if you say hotel. So just pretend that, yeah, there's a Japanese accent on there. But sumetai is one that does not have that. Yeah, I think an advantage I also have against other foreign learners of Japanese is that my grandma was born in Tokyo, so I've had Japanese like influences throughout my entire life from the earliest I can remember. So like even kids shows where I'd see quite a few of the Japanese ones as well as the Chinese ones. Yeah, so like tsume, by itself already gives me a connotation of like cold. So yeah, pretty lucky in that respect. If you do not have that kind of background, then it will probably be rote memorization. Which honestly is most of what I've been operating off of. Yeah. Okay. Ocha is tea. Okay. Enpitsu. Enpitsu is pencil. Pen is actually just pen. And then there's also mechanical pencils, which is sharp pen, which we'll see later. Dark is wa or kuroi or kudai, or something along the lines of that. So I'm looking for a wa or the ku on the things here. Okay, so let's see. Sabishi, which I think is lonely. Kudai, which I think is dark. Chikai is close. And then oishi is one of the ones that we saw earlier. Means delicious. The oishi keiki ya wa doko da, oishi keiki ya wa doko desu ka? Yeah. So kudai. Nice. I think I could probably remember this kanji. Maybe not. The radical is going to be the word for sun or day. This is actually the character for Nichi as well. Unfortunately, it has like 7 other readings, so you'll have to remember it based on context. And then this on the side here, I'm pretty sure is the word for sound. It's also used in the word for music. So day, sound, meaning dark. This actually might have a different meaning in that case. Yeah. Okay, room is heya. Okay, heya, good. Boo. Ooh. Or but I don't know the Chinese, shoot. Okay, sad. Okay, anzen is another one where it sounds slightly similar to Chinese. Anquan, which means safe. Yeah, so here. Anquan. An is peace, and then quan is complete in Chinese. So complete peace, safe, secure. Okay, bright, intelligent. This is an interesting one as well. Atama ga ii. Atama means head, and then ga is kind of like the wa from before, but it is a different like grammar marker. And then e is a vocab we saw before, which means good. So it means head is good. This is head. The left side is bean, like jelly bean. And on the right side, I don't know, but I see it a lot. Okay, steki is how great or fantastic, wonderful. Yeah, so here we go. I don't know these characters at all. Wonderful, quiet, peaceful. So quiet, peaceful in Chinese is anjian, or shoot, what was it? Shoot. I think I know this. Because I did score a 4 on a Chinese AP exam and took in college for a year. Anjing. Unfortunately, none of these look like Anjing. Chikai, I'm pretty sure was close. Shizuka. Oh, this is it. Okay, Shizuka is it. And then Akai is red. Aka by itself is red. And then you have this E. There's different classes of Japanese adjectives. I don't know them yet, but E is one of them, and then na I think is the other. Okay, and hukai is deep, I'm pretty sure. So shizuka. Okay, samui. So this is like cold again. Samui. Yeah, it just kind of gives me the feeling of cold. So don't know why. Just samui. Okay, cold. Han. I'm pretty sure. In Chinese, it's Han. Han refers to like winter. There's also another character for winter. Dong. Han is kind of like relating to the season of winter, I guess, or the cold season. The cold season is a better way of putting it, so that's how it's easier to remember that this means cold. And then Dong is the actual like season of winter. Nice word. Yuki, snow. Ga hutte. Huh. So I guess this is all one term. Yuki ga hutte. Samui desu. Okay. Nimotsu. This I think is one of the counting ones. Nimotsu is ni is 2, so motsu would refer to counting. Or the tsu itself you'll see in the other counting things. I don't know what the mo refers to. Okay, so let's look for 2 of something. Nope. Okay, so mots. Okay, so that's why. So yeah, the mo is here, so this actually doesn't mean the 2 counting. I know that Japan is nihon. Ko is koto. So that would be a katakana one, at least on Renshuu. I don't know what it would be in hiragana. Japanese traditional clothing, this one they use kimono, so it's actually luggage. Oh, okay, so comes up again. So instead of mono, which is what we saw with the food usage of this kanji, which would be tabe mono, the mono is in this case motsu. So I'm guessing the ni refers to some kind of like luggage of things, luggage of sorts, and then the motsu would be like class of things, so like the luggage class of things becoming luggage. Oh god, it's getting late. It's 4 a.m. over here. Okay, I guess I'll just like speed run through these last terms and then go through the starter words tomorrow on another stream. Wonderful. Okay, naka ga ii. Naka is going to be a person, radical, and then the word for middle. Naka ga is just like atama ga ii, which means head is good, bright or intelligent. So we have naka ga ii. Naka, the person plus middle, I think refers to like relationship or something, and then ga ii, good relationship. So close or intimate, yeah. Okay, good. I remember that this was it. This is another character I should probably remember. Okay, nigiyaka. I don't have any idea what this means. So okay, so this is the first one. Samai, atsui, nemui, busy. Okay, so nigiyaka, bustling, busy. Keki, yaku. Okay, yaku. Yawarakai. This is boring. Nope. Soft or tender. These ducks haunt me. I've gotten this word so many times wrong. Yawakai. yawarakai. Okay. Oh, another interesting thing. So tempura, the actual hiragana says ten with an N sound, pura. But based on where this N is, it'll end up sounding kind of like an M as well. So this is one of those things where like, yeah, depending on context or like, yeah, just depending on context, different things will sound differently. Just like in English, right? Like our tough cough versus though, what other, though, through, yeah, all those. Same letters that you would use, but depending on the context, it will be pronounced differently. So tempura, tempura, or senpai, senpai. You'll see it with an N or an M. Yeah, I'm pretty sure senpai you would usually see an N, and then tempura you exclusively see it with an M. This actually means sky. I don't know why. Yeah. So today I went to oh, God, cool. Oh shoot, I picked male. Oh frick. Okay. So today I just made a solo trip over to oh, another verb, adjective that we ran into earlier that I mentioned, which was cheap. Calm, peace, cheap. Huh. Okay. Yeah. So I was originally planning on going with a friend to go to LA to eat some udon at Marugame Monzo Udon, but in our making of our plans, it happened that there's miscommunication, so I went myself, and man, it was a great experience. I kind of accidentally ordered sake somehow. Accidentally ordered sake at the udon place, and started having that, got a bit tipsy, and then I also got their uni cream udon. So it's kind of like a creamy seafood chowder as a base, and then they have the udon, and then the uni that they use, I don't know how to tell if it's fresh because they cooked it. So it was a slightly bit grainy, unlike the usual, just pretty soft and melty texture of raw uni. So it was a bit weird. And then they also topped it off with a shiso leaf, perilla leaf, and then some salmon roe. Now, I used to, as a kid, hate perilla leaf, the shiso with sushi, because it tasted like the plum flavoring for certain Japanese products, which is something that both me and my brother absolutely hated the taste of. So this was that josei. Yeah, but I think I got over it after a time. It's really nice. Yeah, so I got that. And then I also got 2 shiitake mushroom tempura and a ebi, or shrimp tempura. So if you don't know, shrimp, when you buy it, is based on the size, if it's in like a bag or something. And the the designations that they give it are based on the number in a pound. So the smaller the numbers, the larger the shrimp are going to be. So my dad made some tempura himself, and I knew from his tempura that these pretty big ass shrimp are going to be 11 to 20. So that's probably what you would usually see at a tempura place. I'm pretty sure this place used 2130, and then for me, when regularly cooking, I use 3140. Because yeah, I don't eat shrimp that big. The tempura was definitely not the highlight. The udon was really solid. It was really solid. So after I ate there, I wanted to try an izakaya experience. Izakaya are the Japanese bars, and there were two within walking distance, but I was getting close to the closing time for one of them, so I decided to go somewhere else, which was 3/4 mile walk away. So I go in, there's a bunch of people that are all definitely like as a party because they're loud and boisterous, talking a lot, and I started off with atsukan. Atsui means hot, and then atsukan refers to hot sake. Why it's not atsui sake, I don't know, but it's atsukan. So I ordered that, and I coupled it with some taco wasa, which is taco is octopus, and wasa refers to wasabi. So it's octopus, raw octopus, that is marinated in this like wasabi sauce. I hadn't had it before, but it was really good. The wasabi isn't like too overpowering. It still made my nose run quite a bit. But it was it was really, really nice pairing with the atsukan, the hot sake. And then I also ordered a chawan mushi, which is this like egg custard with usually chicken broth, I'm pretty sure. And here we have koto. And they said it would take 20 minutes, so I decided to wait. And then the yakitori came out. So by the time I was done with the wasa taco, with the taco wasa, I was pretty much finishing off the sake, so I had like 2 bottles of sake already, getting pretty tipsy. And then I had ordered chicken skin, chicken thigh with scallion, and special beef section scallop yakitori. So 3 yakitori sticks in total. I have another story about chicken skin yakitori, but I'll probably leave that for another time. But the 3 yakitori were good. I paired them with a nice cold Sapporo 16-ounce draft, and downed them relatively quickly-ish. And then before I was able to finish them, the chawanmushi came out. By God, the chawanmushi was the highlight of the meal. So as a kid, I've had a lot of chawanmushi that my mom made. A fewer times with my grandma, who also made it before. And one feature that you would usually find is that closer to the bottom, the heat distribution can be pretty difficult to handle when making chawanmushi because you kind of like steam the egg, right? So what I would usually see at the bottom of my family's chawanmushi are air pockets or bubbles that formed, and then the eggs surrounding them would end up being cooked further. So I'm pretty sure it's like, unless you sous vide it or something, you're probably gonna end up with the bubbles. But this chawanmushi completely threw out. It was all silky smooth, no hint of air pockets. They added some, what is it called? It's these fish cakes that have like a pink outer rim and then a white inside. There is a specific name for them, and I should probably know this from eating them so much throughout my life. But that was at the bottom. They had a tiny bit of chicken meat. I think it was a green pepper, and then mushroom. So some people will drop some extra goodies into the egg before steaming it, just to add a bit of texture and flavor. Yeah, but this chawanmushi was so smooth throughout. It was really, really nice. And then this beef special scallop yakitori turned out to be just some beef wrapped around a scallop, like a sea scallop. Scallops are my favorite seafood, but I thought it was like some special part of the beef. Oh, this is another Japanese vocab that I remember off of something special. There's a website called Jisho, JISHO.org, that acts as kind of like a Japanese English dictionary. So that's the only reason why I remember this is dictionary. It's based on the site's name. In Chinese, I'm pretty sure it's 杂字, which are not these characters. But these characters probably also mean dictionary in Chinese. This means book here. Earlier we had a vocab term that I didn't talk about, home, which means book. But then we have shou here. Yeah, the chawanmushi was so good. So when I went there, the hostess was not Japanese, but the first waitress, a younger woman, when she was taking my order, on the menu for the taco wasa, they write like taco wasabi, and then they have like, octopus marinated in wasabi underneath in English. So I knew that the actual name that people call it is taco wasa instead of taco wasabi. So when I ordered the taco wasabi and she started to write, taco wasa, I was like, okay, she's a native Japanese speaker. And they were nicer to me after I started using some Japanese. And by some, I mean like 2 words. Please and thank you. Taihen is another vocab that I hear a lot through Hololive. I think Callie uses it quite a bit. Taihen means a lot, very greatly, yeah. Big, I think like impact or something, or I'm pretty sure this is a character in another vocab word I have. I think it's koibito, maybe. At least the top is there, but I don't know about the bottom part. Koibito means sweetheart, lover. It might be the same term. Write it down. So the first waitress came over and started using Japanese with her. And then there was also another older woman who was possibly one of the longer time comfort ease. Okay. One of the longer time employees there. Small, yeah. There's Dakuten Kana, which are these like combination ones, and the combination ones have these written smaller. That gets me a lot. Baka. And she was really, the older woman was really nice to me after I started using a bit of Japanese as well. So at the end of the meal, I told the older waitress, chamushi wa mecha mecha oishii desu. So chamushi was the egg custard dish. Wa, the subject. So pointing to the chamushi as the subject. And then mecha mecha is one of these like more usually used terms that I learned through it's probably through Hololive too. Means very. Mecha mecha. MECCHA. MECCHA. Oishii. Delicious. Desu. And then she said in Japanese, "Oh, I think she's I didn't understand her. I think she said, "Oh, I really like that too." And then I don't remember what was happening after that. It was very quick. But I think she said, "Oh, Nihongo," so Japanese, and then trailed off. I think she was assuming that I knew Japanese, because apparently Japanese people will trail off if they assume you already know the context of what they're about to say. Well, at least they're that from Trash Tastes, Connor. I don't know if it's actually true. And I didn't know how to say I'm currently learning Japanese. So all I said was benkyo, which was study. I think she got the picture. Yeah. But yeah, we had like small bows to each other as I thanked her as I was leaving. Oh yeah. So sound, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, so it was definitely an experience where going alone was not bad at all. And it might have been even better that I just went alone. What was really crazy though? So I've heard from like probably Trash Taste as well. I think Joey was the most vocal one about it. Was like the different breed of people that can be in LA sometimes, like the clout chasers. So in both of the places I went to, there were people talking about like follower numbers and like knowing people and stuff like that. And I listened like I overheard them because of course I'm alone. I'm not going to be like staring at my phone the entire time. Just hearing them talk about this, I was like, wow, it's actually true. This is still my second time going to LA by myself, and it's like, wow. Just wow. Oh, this Chapin. Yeah, so this is why I thought Atsui Sake was a thing, because hot coffee is Atsui Kohi. So I thought it was Atsui Sake, but yeah, my grandma corrected me. Atsukan. Scato. This line here is not hiragana or katakana itself. It's a way to like extend the sound. Scato. So you can think of it as like an extra A. Scato. Kaban. Bag. Yep. Hite. Yeah, so this is the character that has like 7 or 8 different readings. The ones I know are Hi, Nichi. Ri is probably one of them. Ni is probably another one. You're white. Weak, frail. Please be it. You're white. Chick. This is another one I keep getting wrong. Warudakai. Warudak. warukai. Oh shoot, what was soft? Tender. Yawarukai? Yeah, warukai. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, yeah. Because I was kind of tipsy the entire time, I was actually potentially gonna just, like, go to a random group of people and be like, oh, yo, can I just sit down here and drink with you? You don't know who I am. I'll just be here. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, so this is the term I used with the older waitress. Benkyo. I definitely learned this from Golden Boy. His entire thing, like, shtick was studying. Karaoke. Okay. Karaoke. Mise. Store. In Chinese, this is dian. This is the simplified. Handsome. Handsome. Nomimono. This would be drink. So we see this mono again, which means like class of things, and then nomi means to drink. So nomimono, drink things. This in Chinese, I'm pretty sure is yin. If you want to say drink in Chinese, it would be 饮料. We saw. Well, it's gonna be kind of weird to just keep referencing things that would have to be like jumped to. Yeah. Okay. So 饮 means to drink, and mono or 物 means class of things. But in Chinese, 饮料, the 料 character is not this. It would be like 料理, which means cooking. That 料. Atsui. Kirei. Okay, it's getting late here, so I think I'm going to stop here. Thanks for listening to me talking to the void, and I will probably see you tomorrow to keep working on getting these starter words over with. Alright, catch you later.